What's up, football fans? It's time for week number 5 of the NFL picks and predictions for the 2024 season. Let's get underway with the week number 4 recap. And lo and behold, I actually did pretty good, huh? My position went up. It skyrocketed, in fact. And I got 12 out of 16. Not exactly the 14 I needed to break back to even. However, and pretty good, since everyone's been doing only okay these past couple of weeks, I actually did tie the winner of the week. I lost on the tiebreakers, which I never win the tiebreakers, unfortunately, so I'm not actually number 1 this week, but I did get the same point total with 12 wins. So that's really good. It gives me 2 extra points to sort of work with and get closer to the top. And as you guys see, the position went up quite a bit from, I think, 35th to 12th or something. So, but yeah, let's talk about it. So the Dallas Cowboys finally did actually win. They beat the Giants 20-15 though on Thursday Night Football. Granted, even Al Michaels was in the booth and was just like, how many plays is that on penalties on Dallas? 147 and counting and stuff. He had a lot to say about the refereeing there. I mean, every headline you looked up on Friday morning was about favoritism much, and I think somebody on SportsCenter or one of the interview things brought up on one of the panels basically said, if you're going to favor a team, don't make it look, or be biased, don't make it look so obvious next week, refs. You know what I mean? So the amount of flags thrown was crazy, and only 11-4. I mean, that's a crazy amount. 11-4 against the Cowboys, but there was over 20 flags thrown. Just a lot of them weren't counted, right? But 11-4 actually stuck, and that's just insane. So 20-15 does showcase as a result. Just it's not as great. It's not as great of a score as I wanted. Granted, if you're held back by penalties that hard, it is what it is too, right? So, anyways, I'm still not super impressed with the Cowboys because even with all those penalties, some weak, some shouldn't have been counted. We still should have won by over a possession against the Giants. So it is what it is, but I'll take my win there. Then we jump into, of course, our Sunday football. In Atlanta, overcoming New Orleans by 2 points. Big upset for a lot of people this week. I'm glad I picked the home team because, yeah, I don't think New Orleans is that great. I really don't. They haven't shown that they've actually been able to beat a great team because right now Dallas is struggling. So who did they really beat? And look no further, Atlanta managed to beat them too. So there you go. Big win there for me. Alongside of the fact that Chicago beat the Rams after I picked the Rams again. I am 0-4 picking the Rams. This is one of my major losses, and I hate it. I can't stand it. I don't know when to pick them and when not to pick the Rams anymore. I just don't. You beat the San Francisco 49ers and then lose to Chicago. I don't understand. I just don't. Anyways, moving on from that one, Minnesota obviously had a big win up over Green Bay, and it was dominating. And then I couldn't tear myself away from the Atlanta-New Orleans game, so I have no sweet clue, alongside the Denver Jets game, so I had no sweet clue what the hell happened, that Green Bay managed to come back from like 28-8 or something like that, and nearly won. They got close. They got really close. And it was just like, what are you doing, Minnesota? Minnesota did what Dallas does. They score 30-odd points in the first half and then give up on offense for another 2 quarters of football. That's not how you win games. So, yeah, if I was a Vikings fan, I'd be pissed that was happening. But as a Green Bay fan, once again, still pissed that they turned it on like Dallas in the last second. So, yeah, either way, I didn't watch much of that game. But, yeah, crazy when you were seeing the scorecard go by. Then Pittsburgh over Indy is what I had. And, of course, Indy manages to win. So there was another one of my losses. Alongside of the Jets losing to Denver. Wow. What a weak finish. What a weak game that was. That was not a great football game. Both Denver and the Jets both look kind of trash, to be honest with you. But I was sort of it was nice to see Aaron Rodgers lose, so it is what it is. I'll take that point loss. And the big one that I picked that a lot of people, alongside of the Atlanta pick, was Tampa Bay over Philadelphia. Once again, the Eagles aren't that good. The Eagles just aren't. Just like New Orleans, they might look good on paper. They might sound good by record. But they're not actually that strong. In Tampa Bay, though they sort of screwed up last week, they came out swinging. And the Buccaneers, 33-16. I was very happy with that upset pick. Cincinnati over Carolina, but most people picked that. It was a 10-point difference game. Houston over Jacksonville. Once again, most people picked that one too. Though that was a little bit closer and coming down to the wire near the end of that game. So that was the thing too. Now, I had Washington over Arizona. A lot of people, about half the pool, I believe, picked Arizona. I understand why, but Washington destroyed them, dominated them. 42 points on the board. Domination. Just can't be beat, right? So Washington did fantastic this week. San Francisco over New England was obvious, and I was actually impressed that New England scored 13 points on them. That was actually kind of impressive on New England side of things. Now, I had Cleveland over the Raiders, and somehow those stupid Raiders managed to beat the Browns. I don't know what is happening with the Cleveland Browns. They seem to score just enough points shy of losing every week. They're always close. They're always within a possession, and it's just like you just don't capitalize when you need to, right? So that was a disappointing pick, but that was my final loss for this week, and I clean up with KC over the Chargers, though KC looked like shit. Baltimore over Buffalo, where Baltimore dominated, and a lot of people picking Buffalo, and I had faith in Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. They've shaken the rust off officially, and they've come to win. Now that they got their first win over Dallas, they're just like, okay, yeah, let's start winning some games. And they went out, they beat Dallas and Buffalo. Not exactly the weakest teams in the league to beat, but yeah. Then Tennessee over Miami. I was happy to see that domination because Miami kind of sucks. And then Detroit over Seattle. I nearly picked Seattle to try to get the upset win. Glad I didn't because obviously Seattle lost. Though it was kind of a close game for a little bit of time there for the most part. I didn't catch the end, worked the next day. But Detroit managed to win that one out, so there we go. So 12 points for me. The only losses I took was the Rams. My Rams are losing. The Jets lost. Pittsburgh lost. And Cleveland lost. Those are my 4 losses this week. So I did pretty well cleaning up 12 out of 16. So without further ado, though, now that I actually have some points back on the board, let's jump over to week number 5 and keep this roll running. Alright, so for our Thursday night pick for week number 5, we are actually going against the grain and going with Tampa Bay. Though Atlanta and Tampa both proved that they won last week, Atlanta was able to beat New Orleans, but once again, I don't feel like New Orleans was that strong, and Atlanta should have won a little bit easier had that been the case, while Tampa Bay destroyed Philadelphia. So I don't know. I really don't. This is more of a coin flip pick, but I feel like a lot more people are going to pick Atlanta where they're at home field advantage. They are favored. I feel like Tampa Bay, I think the Buccaneers can do it. I think they can win against 2 good teams in a row, if you count the Eagles as a good team. Then we jump over to Minnesota for our first Sunday game after Thursday Night Football, and it's in Minnesota. It's against the Jets. Go Minnesota, 100%. Kick Aaron Rodgers' ass. Then finally, I will be picking Chicago. I gotta pick the Bears. Because why? They're going up against the Panthers. Now, I will be more than thrilled if the Panthers prove me wrong. This I considered an upset pick, but I want to keep the streak alive, and I just felt I flip-flopped on this one a couple of times, but I think I'm going to lock in Chicago. We'll have to see come Sunday. It might change. It could change, but I don't know. I just don't know. Chicago's probably going to score that same 24 they're scoring every time, and Carolina's going to score just 27 instead. You know what I mean? So I really don't know what's going on with that one. I just went with the home team. I really don't know. I think Carolina has to win at some point. At some point I got to pick Carolina, and I feel like this is the week, so I might switch that one. I just don't know It's a couple of days till Sunday, though, so we'll wait and see on that one. Now, in Cincinnati, I'm still going with Baltimore. The Ravens just proved that they can put up points against Buffalo and against Dallas. Cincinnati has looked like crap since week 1. Go Lamar. That's all I can say. In New England, I'm going to go with Miami to defeat New England. Granted, Miami didn't look so hot, but I feel like rivalry battles are always weird, and once again, Miami also has to win once in a while, so it was a toss-up between New England and Miami as another coin flip pick. Normally I go with the home team. I did that sort of once. This time I'm going the opposite way, so we're going with the Dolphins in that one. Washington over Cleveland. When I originally saw the matchup before last week, I originally picked Cleveland, but seeing Washington's domination last week, I can't help in Washington as well. Maybe, they'll rest on their laurels and think we're so great we scored 42 points and they won't do shit this week as a result. I don't feel like that's going to be the case. I'm going with Washington. Washington over the Browns. I'm also going to be having the Colts over Jacksonville. Houston over Buffalo while in Houston, because I think Houston's going to capitalize on the fact that Buffalo wasn't looking very good against Baltimore, and I feel like a lot of people are going to still pick Buffalo regardless of that fact, and no, I just don't see it. I see the Texans beating the Bills rather well. It's not going to be down to the last minute on the clock. How's that? Then I'm going to go with Denver over Vegas. This is a tough one only because they barely beat the Jets. But that being said, it's Aaron Rodgers' Jets. You got to remember that, right? So it's still a much stronger team than they have been in years. I'm just gonna say that I think Denver has a shot. Vegas is not very good. Vegas has squeaked out a couple of weird wins, but they're not very good. So there is that. I'm going to go with Denver. You could count these as upsets if you want. I don't think some of them might look like upsets, but really, they're not. Or they're mostly coin flip picks, where it could go either way, right? And I'm just going to go with the home team once in a while, more often than not. San Francisco over Arizona is no question. I'm going to go with Green Bay over the Rams. Once again, this is going to be another one where I might change it, but I'm 0-4 with the Rams. I don't know why. How can I not pick these Rams games? So I don't really know what to do about the damn Rams. I just don't. Go Green Bay this week, I guess. I have no clue. So then we go to, for Sunday, the last Sunday afternoon game is Seahawks over the Giants. Then we go for Sunday night football is Dallas in Pittsburgh. On the road Cowboys. Yep, on the road Cowboys over Pittsburgh 100%. Pittsburgh is 3-1, and 3 of those wins weren't very pretty. They're not as strong as their record would lead you to believe, and I think Dallas, even with their injuries right now, might be able to do a lot more on offense to keep Pittsburgh out of winning city, as it were. And then for Monday Night Football, it's Kansas City in Kansas against New Orleans. If Kansas hadn't looked so bad against the Chargers, I would say that this is a done deal, no question. But New Orleans also isn't that good. So in Kansas, I'm going to go with Kansas City. And I'm sure Patrick Mahomes is kicking himself for such a shit performance last week. I think he comes out there with something to prove. And that's very dangerous for that level of quarterback to feel like he has something to prove from the previous week. That's much more dangerous than the guy who's living on cloud 9, in my opinion. So we're going to still go with Kansas City Chiefs to wrap up Monday Night Football. So those are our picks for week number 5. As I said, a couple of them, as always, they're always subject to change. But a couple of them I'm still unsure of, especially the Chicago-Carolina pick. That's the big one that I'm humming and hawing alongside the Green Bay Rams pick. I'm humming and hawing on both of those picks really heavily, but we'll wait and see. We'll just have to wait and see. But that's it for week number 5. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And how well did you do in week 4? What are your picks for week 5? Let me know down in the comment section down below, and we'll see you back here next week for week number 6. And, of course, the results of week number 5. Looking forward to it. Have some fun watching football this week, everyone. As always, see you next time.